Korean has two number systems actually. So in English, you would just count something like saying 1, 2, 3, right? And that's it. There's just numbers. If you say I have one cat, if you say I am 10 years old, it's all done with the same system. But actually, I want to use Roman numerals as kind of an example. So these are the regular numbers. You might have seen Roman numerals though before, depending on your age. I know everyone learns these sometime in school. That's a different number system, of course. Korean has two number systems that they use. So imagine for a moment that we used Roman numerals and this number system. Well, when do we use Roman numerals? Typically you use them for movie titles, such as if you go see the movie like Rocky, and then you go see Rocky 2, it's not going to be called Rocky 2. More often, they'll do Rocky 2, Rocky 3. They do it with this Roman numeral system just because that's typically how it's done. You can think of it like these are two different number systems, and they are different systems. They don't work the same way. Here, it goes from 1 to 10, well, 1 to 9. We reuse these numbers in the tens place, right? So then after 9, it's 10, but 10 is actually just 1, and then 0 in the ones place, right? So this is a separate number system that we use in regular English. And this is a separate number system, which goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it starts adding a new place, the place for the numbers, and that starts at 5. I'm not going to explain how to do Roman numerals in today's lesson. I just kind of want to give you an example of how these are two different number systems that we use, and they work different ways, how we add them up. Well, whereas these are completely different systems, and you have to learn like V, X, Korean is not. Korea's two number systems are actually easier than it sounds. Korean has two number systems. It has Sino-Korean and there's pure Korean. This Sino part is actually a word that comes from the word China. I'll just give you the first two. 1, 2, 3 for 1, 2, 3. These numbers are actually not originally from Korea. These are Korean pronunciation of Chinese words, and they came over to Korea a long time ago. Let's learn the first 10 numbers in Sino-Korean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In order to make larger numbers beyond 10, you don't have to learn one number for every single different number. To take a number beyond 10, you look at the tens place. So the tens place, just like in English, you can have the number 12 or you can have 56. This number here, either 1 in 12 or 5 in 56, is the tens place of the number you're looking at. If you wanted to say 12, 10, so you have 10, and then a 2, which is 2, 12, 12. You don't have to say 1. You don't have to say how many of that 10 there is if it's 1. And this is important. 56, the tens place is 5. So we need 5 tens, 5, 10, and then 6. So 5, 10, 6 is 56, 56. This is pretty much how it works all the way until 100. 33, 60, and 14. So the tens place in the first one, 33, is 3. So we need 3 tens. 3, 3, 10, 10. And then the next place is the ones place. So we just use another 3. 3, 33. For 60, we look at the tens place, which is a 6. 60. Then we look at the next place, there's a 0, there's nothing. And we're done, 60. 14, we look here and we have a 1, so we have a 10, which is just 10. The next number 4, 4, 14, and we're done. So of course you're going to be counting more than 100 numbers, but how would you say something like 103, right? I've seen some people do this before. They say, oh, let's see, the tens place, it has a 10 here. There's a tens here, so that's 10, 10. 10. That's wrong, but it's really funny. You cannot repeat a counter. As soon as you would have to repeat a counter, such as 10, you need to go to the next counter. And the next counter after 10 is 100, which is 100. Okay, so now we have 100 and we can do larger numbers. So in order to do this, we go to what's the first digit after here? The first one is now 100. So we can say 100, 100. So now we go back down the list. The next number is 0. Well, we already have 100, so we don't need it. The next number is actually just 3. 103. 103. And that's all we have to do to count beyond 99. Now we can go from 100 all the way until 1,000. So 213. We see that we have 200s here, so we're going to need something in the 200 place. So 100, which is 100. So now we're done. Now we have 200. Now we have to deal with this 13. How do we say 13? 10, again for 10. 3. Let's do 670. Another, again, we have 600s. So 6, 100. Then we have the next part is 70. So just like before, 7, 10. And then there's nothing else here, so it's just 70. But when we get to 1,000, there's a different number that we have to use. 100 times 10, we get 1,000 now. 1,000 is 1,000. So now we can go up to all the way up till 10,000 using 10 for 10, 100 for 100, and 1,000 for 1,000. So let's do 5,000. We don't have anything else to worry about here. We only have here, which is 5. Oh, now we have 1,000. 1,000. 5,000. 503. Well, you have 5,000. Nothing here. Nothing here. 3. There's one more that's super, super common. Man. Man is 10,000. We can use man to say any number all the way up until 99,999,999. 32,111. How many 10,000s do we have? We have 3. 3 man. And what are we left with? Well, we're left with 2,111, 2,000, 2,100, 111, which is 10, 1, 11. So 32,111. In order to count higher than 10,000, there is not a 100,000th place, and there is not a 1 million. What is this number in relation to this? Well, this number is 10 thousands. So 10만, which is pronounced as 10만 due to sound change rules. And then this one would be, well, see, you can see this one's 10. Well, then how many 10,000s is this? Well, this is 100. So written as 100만, pronounced as 100만. And then how many 10,000s is 10 million? Well, it's 1,000 10,000. So 1,000만. So then what would 100 million be? Well, 100 million would be 10,000. But like I said, Koreans don't do 10, 10 for 100. They don't duplicate it. So in this case, they have a different counter complete, which was called ok, but we're not going to go into ok. So the number I want to do for you today is 99,999,999, which is as high as possible using these numbers that we've learned. We see there, it only goes up to here. The largest unit we're working with is 10,000. So how many 10,000s do we have? So we need to say 9,999, and then we're going to stick this counter 10,000 on the end. 9,000, 9,000. Now the next thing we're left with is 999. So how do we say 900? 900. Now we're left with 99. So 9,999만. Now we just need to say 9,999, which is again exactly the same thing. 9,999만 9,999.
I can't even say that.
So Sino-Korean, when do you use this number system? You use it for general numbers. Like if you just want to say the number of something. For example, like, oh, I am number 3. Or what number are you? Well, I'm number 7. You know, like a sports player. Or what number in line are you? They would just say the number followed by 번. And this is also just used in general. Whenever you just want to count. These are the numbers in Korean. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Any sort of general numbers. So that includes a phone number, an address, the number of a floor, which is done with the number and then 층. 층 means a floor. Other things you'll use the Sino-Korean number system for are money. So one is the Korean money, but also for if you're using for currency in another country, dollars, you could say 달러, or you can say 불. Any sort of measuring. That includes like meters, so which they say 미터. That includes temperature, which is 도. 도 means degrees. Also, for any sort of date. Actually, I'll do it in the Korean order, which is year, month, and day. So in Korea, they number the months from 1 to 12. So January is just 1, 1, 월. February is 2, so 2월, and so on. There are some exceptions. 6 for June is 6월. It's not 6. And 10 is 10월. It's not 10. These are the only exceptions you have to learn. Also for the time, but for minutes and seconds. Minutes is 분. You'll need to know pure Korean numbers in order to say the hour. So for Sino-Korean, we had to learn like 100,000, 10,000, you know, even maybe 100 million. Pure Korean, you only need to learn 1 until 10, and then the number for 20 and 30. You can learn beyond that, but most often, Koreans, once they get above the number 39 or maybe 49, they don't use pure Korean numbers anymore. For anything, no matter what the purpose is, no matter what you're counting, as soon as that number goes above 39 or maybe 49, depending on the person, they'll just give up and switch back to Sino-Korean numbers for counting. So the number for 1 to 10, 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟. This one's 여덟, not 여덟. Although the 비읍 is there, they don't pronounce the 비읍. 아홉, and then 열. This way works exactly the same as Sino-Korean numbers. So like if we want to say the number 11, well, we have 10, 열, and then 하나, 열 하나. If you want to say the number 15, it's just 10, 5, 열 다섯. So here's where pure Korean differs from Sino-Korean. Where Sino-Korean you go 10, 100, 1000. Pure Korean you go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You go every 10 all the way up to 99. You only need to know 1 to 10 and then 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90 at the most, even if you want to know every single pure Korean number. 20 is 스물, and then 30 is 서른. I'll also teach 40. I'll just go ahead and teach 40. 마흔. Although there is a 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, most of the time they are not used. So if you want to say the number 27, normally with Sino-Korean you would say, oh, it's two tens, so 27. Well, there actually is a 20 counter, and it's 스물 일곱. That's how it works. And same with 30. When you get to 30, you want to say, oh, 33. It's just 서른셋. How is this used? First of all, well, one thing is that this is used for counting hours, like to say o'clock. So you want to say it's 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock and 12 minutes. Well, we just learned before we used the minutes with the Sino-Korean. So we have 12 would be 12분. Well, to say o'clock, that's the counter 시. So 7 is 7시, 7 o'clock. But there is a exception. The numbers 1 to 4 change whenever they are used before any sort of noun, specifically any counter, and 20 actually. You want to say it's 1 o'clock. So I told you the counter is 시. So you would say the number, which is 하나, 1, and then 시. But 1 o'clock is not 하나시. Same with 2, 3, and 4. 하나 becomes 한. So if you want to say 1 o'clock, it's 한시. Well, 2 becomes 두. 3 is 세. And 4 is 넷. If you look at this, you can see that they're not changing that much. So we have 한시, 두시, 세시, 네시. 20 also does this. So 20 becomes 스무, and that's it. Well, we'll learn that the counter for people is 명. So it's 스물 명 is 20. But if you want to say 21, it's only for the number 20 by itself. You say 스물 한 명. So now it just goes back to 21. It's only when the number is just exactly 20 or just exactly 1 to 4. So when is it used? Well, uses, first of all, is it's used for telling the time. So you can do that with, as I said, you can use that with time with 시. Or if you want to say 30 minutes, you can say, actually, you can just say 반. 반 means a half. So if you want to say it's 3:30, you can say 3시 반. Or you can say 3시 30분 with the Sino-Korean numbers, just like we learned before. The next thing that it's used really common with is for counting people, animals, and things. By this, I mean any physical things, anything that you can touch. To count people, they use the counter 명. To count animals, any animal, they use 마리. And to count things, well, there's a lot of counters you can use for things. So I'll talk about that next. But think about this. Can I count that thing by actually touching it? Like, could I line them up? If I had a big enough room, could I line them up and count them? If the answer is yes, you will use pure Korean to count it. Pretty much like all the time. So 명, if you want to say 5 people, it's just 다섯 명, 5 people. Animal is 마리. So if you wanted to say there's 1 cow, you say 한 마리 is 1 animal. And if you want to specify what the animal is, you put that in front. So for cow is 소. So you would say 소 한 마리, cow 1. If you want to count rats, so 쥐 is mouse or rat. So 쥐, 5 mice. 다섯 마리, mice, 5 of them. So remember this order: the noun, the number, then the counter. There's a lot of counters for things. The most general way to count an object of something is K. If you don't know what you should count it with, you can just use K. You can be more specific by using other counters, which I'll teach you about next, but at least know K. If you're counting bottles of something, you can use 병. If you want to count, like, I have 1 bottle of soda, you wouldn't say soda, the object, and then 두 개 or 한 개, 1 of them. You would want to use bottle. So if there is a counter for counting something, it's best to use that counter. If you want to say I have 2 cows and you accidentally use K for cows, it sounds weird because K is only for counting general things, not for something specific, not for animals, and certainly not for people. You can also use cup for a cup of something. 잔, 접시 is for a plate. You can say, we want to say I have 1 cup of tea. You'd say 차, which is tea, and then 한 cup, tea, 1 cup. So I'm not going to cover all of the different possible counters you can do, and there would be a lot, but I do want to cover some of the most common ones. 장 is a sheet of something, usually like paper or something. It's also for t-shirts. So if you have a book and you want to know, you say, oh, the book has 350 pages. Well, you would use 장. So you would say 500 장. And this, as you know, there is no 500 pure Korean, so you just say 500, 500장. 권, books. So if you want to say, I have 3 books, you would say 책, 세 권, 3 books, like that. There's a counter for trees. There's a specific counter for pizza, a whole pizza, a slice of pizza. There's a counter for pairs of socks. There's a counter for suits. There's a counter for a lot of these things, but I think you can get away with using K for a lot of them. And if it's your first time learning this, I would rather not overwhelm you with counters because I could probably think of about a dozen that are really useful to know, but they're not as essential as just understanding the basics. So I'm going to stop right here for this part of the lesson. One more thing I wanted to teach about. 켤레 is for a pair of socks. 번 is for a number of times. 두 번, twice. 세 번, 3 times. 10번, 10 times. 100번, 100 times. The next thing it's used for is ordinal numbers. And by ordinal, I don't even need to write ordinal. I'll just write it like this. First, second, third. These are called ordinal numbers. Now, in English, you have to learn first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. Korean, all you do is you take a pure Korean number and you attach 번째. 두 번째 would be the second. Third would be 세 번째. First is not 한 번째. 첫 by itself means first. So you'd say 첫 번째 for first time. There are dozens and dozens of counters. You don't really need to learn all of them though. Like I said, there's a counter for, there's one called 자루, which is for actually things like like a long brush or a long pencil. Anything that's long and thin can be counted with 자루. 그루 is the counter for trees. 대 is for appliances, like a washing machine or any sort of big, large appliance, computers. 조각 is for a piece of something. It's like a piece of pizza. A pizza itself can be 판. Words, you can count individual words with 마디. Like I said, don't stress about learning all of them because you'll learn them as you learn the vocabulary for that. Like if you don't even know how to say refrigerator, you don't need to learn how to count appliances yet. Like if you're not counting trees, you don't need to learn how to count trees. Oh, and then the other thing is when you're taking photos, the final thing. When you're taking photos, people will count with pure Korean numbers and not Sino-Korean. They won't say, they'll say 하나, 둘, 셋, and then take a photo. Kikat, let's close it down for these people. That button right there. Yeah, and I'll push the O, the OK. Okay.